Oh, my aching back and yours. But we may have a solution this evening for you. Yeah, so the other day, I go to the chiropractor for the first time in a dog's age. He says, Dan, where you been? Your pelvis is like this, your upper or whatever is like this, your C5, your C4 are like this, you're swinging the golf club too much, you're not stretching enough. And by the way, how often do you sit doing your job? Well, I sit doing the radio show for 3 hours, and sometimes I get up to go potty, but it's too much information. And of course, I'm sitting here, and say on a day like today when we're putting this show together, I've been sitting for the better part of an hour and 15 minutes because we just produced a show prior to this one tonight. And if not for the chiropractic work, I'd be screaming. And when I get up, I'm like this. And it's probably a very familiar story for all of you. Good evening. Welcome to My State of Mind. This is a program without a rundown. We're probably on an off day or a holiday, and I'm guessing that you're going to see this show once, twice, or a couple of times because, as you are well aware, there are days when we just kind of hang loose, talk to entrepreneurs, talk to people in town, come up with all sorts of creative ideas, listen to different and novel approaches to the way our lifestyle ought to be conducted. And so that day that I came in and complained about my back, I said to Jess, we ought to talk to these guys. Because these guys called in from this company here in Rhode Island, and they say they've got the magic wand to, at least during your work and home work, put your back in better shape. And you know how I love to talk to local businesses, so that's exactly what we're doing. We have a bridge here, as we say in the business. What do we got here? What are we showing? We're showing something. This is just one of the products that a company called Focal Upright right here in Rhode Island are developing. They're housed at Quonset. They have about 15 employees right now. And look at that. That's actually, you know what? I got to make a deal for the radio show for these guys because I can't stand, by the end of the show, I'm actually going to sample this baby. But we've got Steve here to do it anyway. Now, this is a first. Usually I go right to the guest, and I'm talking to the guest right here. So I'm going to talk to the guest right here. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
It's before we get into what you're sitting on, tell us about your company a little bit.
So Focal is a company that was founded by Martin Keene, who previously founded Keene Footwear, which is a globally successful footwear brand, several $100 million in revenues each year. And Martin, before he actually started Keene, was working in a sitting position, and he found that he kind of lacked creativity. His back hurt, he didn't feel creative, so he bought himself a drafting table that he worked at, and he tried to stand at it all day, but he felt, in his terms, like it was an endurance test. And so he couldn't do that all day long. Being an industrial designer, Martin went out, got himself an old tractor seat from an antique dealer in Jamestown, Rhode Island. He put the tractor seat was on a post, and one day he bent the thing forward because he felt like he was just sitting at a higher level. So he was sitting up here like this, and he bent it over like this, and he sat on it. As a good sailor, he had a bunch of line around, tied a wood block to it that kind of resembles what we have now. He felt comfortable, worked at it while he was doing Keene Footwear. After he sells his interest in Keene Footwear, he starts prototyping and refining with the help of Octo Design up in Pawtucket. This, what we now know as the Focal Locus seat. Took it to a trade show with our standing height and adjustable angle desk.
Go slow. The Focal Locus seat?
The Focal Locus seat. The tongue twister of sorts.
The Focal Locus seat.
You got it.
And that means?
It's basically just Martin's, the focal point, puts you at the focal point of your work zone. And the locus, this is within your control. You're in control of your core. Your core is engaged. And so that's kind of how we derived focal and locus for the product, for the company name and the product name.
All right. That's a hell of a story.
Yeah.
Now, you came into it.
I came in when Martin took the product to a trade show with his wife and co-founder, Mary Hall Keene. And they came back in Business Week and Wired and Inc. all saw it and started raving about it. They were like, we love this. The Digerati, the tech community really started to get into it. The design community liked it. And so they knew they had a business, and they called me up and said, "Hey, can you help put together the financial model, figure out how we can pull this
Why?
thing
What was your
together?"
background? What were you doing prior to this?
My background mostly is in investment banking and investment management. Before that, well, immediately prior to joining Focal full-time, I was working with a company that helps sort out retiree health benefits for municipalities and it used to be for big public companies. Now it's more
So you took a little bit of
municipalities.
an entrepreneurial leap into this thing.
I did.
Yeah. Is it working out?
It's working out well. We have a lot of fun. We have good employees. It's not without its share of sleepless nights and stress, but I think that's sort of part and parcel of starting your own company.
So remind me, how long have we been at this project?
Since the first trade show was May of 2012, and so here we are, roll forward some 30 months, and we're now having real success. Regular order flow from big public companies, big institutions, and starting to have what feels like real traction.
It's such a common ground thing, isn't it? When I start the show talking about my aching back, I don't know that there's anybody who's working for a living other than folks in construction and blue collar workers who are on their feet all the time, who have their own physical challenges to get it done. But the idea of being behind a desk all day long is a very common ground complaint that people have. And now we learn every time you take a look at some new piece of research that's coming down the pike about the sedentary nature of human beings, you find out that, oh God, the longer you sit, the less you're going to live.
Right.
That's enough to freak you out.
Exactly.
Right? But it seems to me, as you're sitting on, now this is one of a couple of different products that you have, right?
Correct.
Okay, so as you're sitting on that thing, well, what are you doing, man? Are you
Yeah,
sitting or are you standing?
Well, really what you're doing is you're halfway between standing, right? This is where you work at your desk, standing at your standing height desk. Just like you'd be standing around at a cocktail party, right? Now you say, okay, well, I'm sitting here, I need to take a little load off. So you tuck the seat back in and you're leaning. And it turns out that this leaning posture, which is about, I'm a little bit more open hip, but 135 degree, side angle posture, if you're looking at it this way, is actually where astronauts float in zero gravity. So it's a very neutral posture for both your pelvis and your spine. And a lot of people, when they first get into this seat, have the aha moment. We had it just outside before I came into the studio.
Who had the aha? Jacqueline?
Jacqueline had the aha moment.
Jacqueline,
She's like, I love this.
Who's a high-level administrator here who brings everybody in, and she's terrific. And she was very excited when she brought you in here.
Yeah.
She had the aha moment. So she's going to be petitioning the president of the company
they're
for her own
petitioning.
gadget here. But it's not a gadget; it's an apparatus. I mean, it's furniture.
Yeah, it's furniture, and people work at this, at leading companies all day long. This is their only office seat, and I do it. I've done it for since we got the initial shipment of seats in November of 2012, and I love it.
Well, I got. Why don't we do this? Well, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. I'm going to mess around with one of these products and actually try to simulate what happens on the radio. I'm not going to stand doing this show. I'm too fat for television. But we'll see if we can figure it out on the radio side. Stay with us. Ha! How are you? So we're back. Hey, listen. What we try to do on this program is just be a little loosey-goosey, and I don't mind breaking some protocols every once in a while. So Steve, as you just have met, runs what's the company name again?
Focal Upright Furniture.
See, if I don't have my chair and I can't steal my notes. This is the third show I did today, by the way. So give me a break. Focal Upright Furniture. So I was saying, if you just tuned in, you're going, what is going on? And Jess is having a ball. Producing this show today, but Steve's company in Rhode Island, operating out of Quonset, correct?
Correct.
Produces this. See, you can't even see it. All you see is me moving around here. And by the way, now you can see that under this shirt-only show, I don't really get too excited about what I'm wearing underneath. So just a casual pair of pants. But let me see if I can get this whole thing straight, Steve. So. For those who work at, well, you sit. No,
okay.
You just sit, and unless you have to adjust this for me. I was saying that even on the radio show, we have a desk that is about maybe this high, and One guy who works at our place on fill-ins and Saturdays, former Representative John Laughlin, stands with a microphone that's up here. In the old days in the radio, we used to stand a lot, and you get exhausted doing a 3 or 4 hour talk show doing that. And then then there was a time when I first joined WPRO in our studio, we had like a bar stool.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't help my back either, because
You're still 90 degrees.
yeah, you're still leaning over, and frankly, I thought that was worse. So what you're saying is you can take this kind of technology and hybrid it, right?
Yeah, you're
Okay.
halfway.
So there's no trick to it. You stand on the bottom, and did we show the bottom? We haven't been able to show the bottom. Well, we've got photos, right, Jess, that we could. There you go. So you see the bottom thing? That's where my feet are. And then you can just lean back, and it swivels, right, in all different directions. So it's giving you complete flexibility. You know what it does? I bet you it takes, see, there's a draft board like over there. It takes a little bit of confidence at the beginning to think that you're not going to wipe out on this sucker, right?
Right. Every
All
time.
right, now talk to me about it. See, because now if I put the mic here, I could still reach down. But I might want to need one of these babies.
Yeah. Heighted desk, you'll be all set.
Yeah. There's a lot of people with back problems who are stuck in the office, most days, who would probably really, really, really like to have one of these things. Do you talk to the medical field about this? Did you get some advice from chiropractic and/or physical therapists, or
We did, actually, and some of the
surgeons or whatever?
We did, and we continue to do that on an ongoing basis to really understand, everybody's perspective. But early on, actually, Don Levine at Olympic Physical Therapy was very helpful. He not only helped us himself, but he put us in touch with some other people in the field who are sort of the thought leaders, in his field, and they gave us great advice and, frankly, great feedback right with Martin's initial design. So they were very much in favor of it from the get-go.
So are you telling me that corporations are kind of like redesigning their offices in totality so that people can, tell me about some of your success stories.
Yeah,
what's happened?
So where we've had success, I think generally companies are becoming more aware of the issue.
See, I'm getting more confident. I'm reading. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, associated with the health hazards of sitting for long periods of time, and whole companies are starting to adopt this. Some of our earliest adopters are right here in Rhode Island. KVH Industries probably has 20 of these seats, and their people claim to love it. I was told last week that if someone with one of our seats leaves, that's like their prized possession, and there's a little bit mini turf battle to find out who gets it. I respond, we can sell you more. We've sold other seats to Google, Apple, sold some to Intel, places like that. So high-profile tech companies, and locally, right around the corner, Chris Bartlett and partner Ken Ansager have them in Blue Cross Blue Shield, et cetera.
So tell me, I already asked you the question before, am I sitting or am I standing? I don't know, but have you had any kind of medical review or just physical evaluation as to whether or not like blood flow in the body is improved because you see how I'm just kind of wiggling here? I look like I'm doing the twist, but you literally can. And I do feel like while I'm in a spot, I am not as sedentary.
Right.
Yes?
Correct. What we aim to provide is supported mobility, so that you feel supported and you're not putting all your weight on any one part of your body, but you're also able to be mobile throughout the day. And there's a lot of evidence that would support, and a lot of academic peer-reviewed journals that would support that thesis, that if you maintain movement throughout the day, it's far better for your health.
You should put these in bars.
Field sobriety test. I like it.
No, but I'm serious. I would think that, when you're belly up to the bar, you got to stand. And a lot of people don't like to be sitting at the bar. But if you want to be social at the bar, it's kind of okay. You got another one over there.
Enter the.
Look at Steve. Steve's just
Mobus.
taking over the show, and
That's
now
what
we
do.
have complete chaos.
Here's the bar stool.
There is a bar stool.
Yeah, so
See,
this is kind of very much like
I
a
walked
bar
into that
stool or a
one, didn't I?
lab environment. So people who don't have enough space underneath, lab or whatever, or bar, right here. This is
All right, so you got one.
Designed with a lot of input from customers. That this won't always fit in their environment, but this will.
All right, what's this sucker cost?
This, as pictured with the anti-fatigue mat, is about $788 shipped.
No!
Shipped anywhere in the U.S.
Oh!
This is, think about the incredible, what you would pay
Go,
for a
but now
healthy
we've
back
gotta
every
work
day.
a little bit on this one. How much?
$788 for that. This is $499, the Mobis.
Wow. So a company's got to, well, listen, I mean, a lot of people spend a lot of money on their offices. So, I mean, and furniture is expensive anyway. So I shouldn't have thought it was like, you know, this is not an Ocean State job lot purchase here. One of my favorite stores, by the way.
Mine too.
This is a very significant investment in your health, welfare, and for about $800, you know, is your screaming back and longevity in life worth it? That's a question I guess you're going to have to answer. When we come back, I'm going to go back to my original chair and talk a little business, the environment of Rhode Island. You know, we don't just do full infomercials here, but we'll make sure you know how you can find out more information about this wonderful one. I love success stories in business in Rhode Island. Stay with us.
We have been taught to sit since we were toddlers, eating Cheerios in our high chairs. We then went off to school, where the first lesson was Sitting Quietly 101. As working adults, we go off to work every day, where we spend hours on end slouched in our cubicle. We have a love affair with the chair. In fact, the chair is the most designed and celebrated artifact of the modern era. But sadly, in this case, love hurts.
Yeah, see, well, you said it all in that video. Steve is here. He is the CFO,
Correct.
CFO, financial guy, for Focal Upright, which is a company that operates out of Quonset. It's been going on for a year or so now, and kind of a brainstorm. See, everybody wishes that you could monetize they ought to make this thing, and your founder and partner is monetizing based on, if you didn't see the show, it's on WPRI.com, you can see the beginning, because we're not going to rehash how this whole thing got started. But we all want that multi-million-dollar lottery hit or the gadget idea, right?
Right.
The one thing that's going to sell, everyone's going to love, even only for a year, that makes us all go into retirement. You may be working on that right now. Tell me about business in general, though, in Rhode Island. What's it like? Let's have a little conversation about the environment here in this, as we record in this election season.
Yeah,
talk to me about it.
I think the environment is, for us, as a startup company, very much at the micro level, right? So we don't spend very much time thinking about things that are beyond our control, because we've got to just do what we can to grow our customer base, make our products as good as we can, and you move forward, right? So we're at that stage where we're not as influenced by the macro political environment. But I would say that I think the general takeaway that I see as both as a owner in and operating executive in Focal is that the community in Rhode Island is becoming much more business friendly. I think people like Beta Spring have done a great job. I think Cherry Stone does a very good job. I think there are a lot of programs to help attract young talent to Rhode Island, like Venture for America, where we've hired 2 kids straight out of Duke who've come to Rhode Island, and they have a cohort of other very smart, bright kids that are coming to work at places like Swipely and some of the hot companies around Rhode Island. So I'm very encouraged by that, and I think the political environment is kind of getting the message. I think there's a structural problem in Rhode Island, which is to say that 38 cities and towns and 1 million people doesn't work. We're the size of a school district in Texas, so all this administrative burden makes
Everybody agrees with that point, and nobody wants to do a doggone thing about it.
Right.
But I do get it, and because we've had a lot of entrepreneurs on this show and a lot of small company success stories on this show, I do want to overemphasize what has not been overemphasized, and that is that great business people can succeed even in a tough political environment or regulatory environment. It would be nice to have a couple of the straps off and a few less taxes to pay and all that kind of thing, right? But there is a spirit of entrepreneurship that exists in the state that doesn't always get the headlines. It's in pockets, the pockets that you just described.
Go to the Hope Artiste Village. There are plenty of entrepreneurs making it happen there.
Right. That's where Gina did her announcement, as a matter of fact. You with her? Oh, let's not talk about it. Anyway,
yes.
The answer is yes?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. This product is novel. how do people shop for it? I mean, you don't buy it. You just don't buy it sight unseen.
Right, right. If most people really it will do, if they're a retail customer, you can either buy it, and we have a liberal, 30-day money-back return policy. If you're a company, generally you'll buy it through one of your dealers. Like so, in Rhode Island, WB Mason, Creative Office Pavilion. In
So
Boston,
you're in there.
Peabody
You're
Office
penetrating.
Furniture.
So
Yeah.
a big office supply store would you'd find these
Yeah.
on the shelf and/or
Or-
on display.
Or you have
In their catalog.
or you have a representative. That they generally work with people to help plan furniture purchases. And so if you're a big company and you work with someone like that, you would work with that person. They would contact us. and
You
we
look
help with
loose.
deployment.
You look
Yeah.
loose.
It's very, very mobile.
I sat down and my back's killing me again. Congratulations on this idea.
Yeah.
All I did was complain about my back on the radio, and this is how this conversation started. I'll tell you how your conversation with me can get started when we come back. Congratulations. Stay with us. Now look, I love talking to local businesses about their great ideas. If you've got a great idea on one of these expanded programs where we're not banging out the issues of the day necessarily, let us know. Give us a ring, 228-1886. Of course, if you leave a voicemail editorially, we'll use that on the air, but you can email us or you can Facebook post or tweet at Dan York Show. Just don't forget the E or it won't come through. And talk to me about what it is that you think the world ought to know about your business, your hobby, your project, your avocation, your care for the community, your ideas for the betterment of the lifestyle of the place. I mean, because we're all about some positive stuff around here more often than not, all right? So congratulations to that great company, and we'll see you tomorrow night, unless this is Friday. We'll see you Monday through Friday, 7:30, 11:30.